This is PWF Empire Live.
It's the best thing going today.
The best insight and analysis on the hottest topics in the world of wrestling happens here. From storylines and news to rumors and reviews, we've got the action covered from bell to bell. Presented by PWFEmpire.com with your hosts, Charlie Feast, Evan Medina, and J-Dub.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
The match starts now.
PWF Empire is live. Thank you guys for joining us here on tonight's episode. Jay here along with Evan and Steven. We got a lot to discuss on tonight's show. Just want to go ahead and run down the show really quickly. We have a topic concerning Divas main eventing WrestleMania, the grandest stage of them all. If you think that sounds crazy, maybe you don't want to tell Charlotte about that because she's the person that's talking about it. But I mean, maybe we'll tell her she's crazy for you later on in the show when we discuss it. Who knows? We also have to talk about Cesaro's status in WWE. There are some interesting things that have been happening with him, and we're going to try to assess his status and see exactly where he stands in the pecking order of things. And we also have Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose to talk about. They are the fragments of the broken shield, and could those little pieces of the shield be broken even further heading into SummerSlam? So that's what we have to talk about tonight. But really quickly, I want to go back to last week's show. Steven, you didn't get the opportunity to discuss the whole push repackage release thing that we did with Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte. Who would you push repackage release in that scenario?
Well, to me, it's pretty simple. You don't release Sasha Banks, you don't release Charlotte, so that leaves Becky Lynch. So you release Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks' gimmick right now is pretty damn perfect, so you don't repackage her. So you push Sasha, you release Becky, and you repackage Charlotte. I think that's
I was thinking that was like the scenario that would be like easy peasy lemon squeezy. Nobody would complain about that one because that's just the way that the cookie crumbled. But you guys would not believe the amount of heat that I got after that segment. And Evan, you didn't get any of it because you weren't there, but from Charlie, our former co-host on PWF Empire Live, and also Justin from PWTR, they cursed me out. My God, you would think that they had, well, technically Charlie, or at least Charlie thinks he has a personal stake in Becky Lynch.
That's weird,
hey, Charlie,
to me.
But
that's weird.
I told him, like, if Becky Lynch is released, that means that she has more time to spend with you. I mean, we've created this fantasy world. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want to there. So I guess it's, Becky Lynch, that's just the way that it goes, So, but yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And from all of the responses that I got, that was the usual scenario. Like, we all three of us picked the same one, and that was the one that I saw the most too. I saw about 3 people out of all of the responses that I got say that they were going to release Sasha Banks. Only 3 out of all of them. So, yeah, those 3 people. One of them is my good friend Matt, so they can't be that crazy, but yeah.
I don't know how in the world you could let go of Sasha Banks, man. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I don't know. But you know what? Let's move on to something else I don't know. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Steven. You talked about how you were looking at Seth Rollins, your WWE World Heavyweight Champion, not mine. And you talked about how his booking seems to have improved. And I looked at Monday Night Raw, and I just don't see it. So you're the type of guy, you put things into words so eloquently, and you're very like, you get down, like you think, you use your brain. So I want you to let me know, what is it about Seth Rollins that I am not seeing?
I think you're gonna be
good too.
Yeah, well, if you want me to make it good, you're gonna be disappointed because I'm thinking back on that, and I'm not even sure why I said it now. I think
I just lifted you up, and well, I mean, you're on the right side of things now, so I guess I understand.
I think I said that because Seth Rollins, he always works for me, even when he's being booked badly. I'm always entertained by him because he's such a just a great heel. And I don't know, these past 2 weeks, the promos he's been doing, the way he's been behaving, just, I don't know, it just works for me as a heel. And I'm not going to say he's suddenly being booked any differently. But I think I've always had this sort of disagreement when it comes to Rollins with you guys, or at least with you, Jay. Because, well, you really want to see Rollins as this, like, architect, legit wrestler kind of guy. I kind of enjoy him for what he is, which is a cowardly dipshit traitor who can't put his money where his mouth is. And he plays that role to me perfectly, and he's been playing it perfectly these past 2 weeks. I really thought his promo where he photoshopped his lips onto John Cena and made him speak all those funny words. And then the segment from the prior week where he was doing the open challenge and he was getting ready to face El Torito. I thought they were both really great heel promos, and this guy to me is just one of the few great heels on the roster at the moment, and he really gets on my nerves in a good way.
Well, he gets on my nerves as well, but it's in a fucking terrible way, because I was looking at that promo from him on Monday Night Raw, and the whole thing with the having John Cena's face superimposed over his and having Seth Rollins' lips there speaking for him, I thought it was all terrible. Like, I can honestly say that I have a great disdain for Seth Rollins right now. And maybe it's just because I'm letting my thoughts about what Seth Rollins could be overtake looking at what he actually is. But I looked at what he actually is, and what he is The Miz. That's exactly who Seth Rollins is. Like, the same type of character that The Miz played when he was WWE champion, that's who Seth Rollins is. And I'm wondering, like, is it okay because Seth Rollins is better in the ring than The Miz is? Because I look at Seth Rollins' character and it's like, it doesn't even fucking matter. Like, his character, it doesn't matter that he's good in the ring at all. That's not even a big selling point for the character of Seth Rollins. And when you have someone who's that talented in the ring and he doesn't even prompt you to think about how good he is in the ring with the way the WWE tells us the story of Seth Rollins, I think that sucks. And the issue is, I don't believe anything Seth Rollins says. He has absolutely no credibility in my eyes and no legitimacy in any way, shape, or form.
That's really strange, though, because Rollins is one of the few guys where when he says he's going to do something, he usually actually does it. And so it's weird that you would say he has no credibility. Like, even when he says he's going to back something up in the ring, he does it. Like, when he told the Authority, I don't need you, I'm going to face Ambrose on my own. He actually did. He took him to the limit. And yeah, the ending was kind of screwy, but he took him to the limit. He got into the ring with Brock, and I know he was a chicken shit prior to the match, but he actually tried to bring it against Brock for the few minutes that match went on. When he says he's going to bring back the Authority, he does. When he says he's going to win the world title, he does. So it's really strange to me that you would say he has no credibility.
See, the thing is, when I see Seth Rollins in the ring, just look at what happened on Monday. Like, the whole narrative surrounding Seth Rollins, it zaps him of all of his credibility, because you have someone like JBL screaming at ringside about how great Seth Rollins is and how awesome he is, and this means that he's a great champion. And I sit there and I look at the scenario play out. Seth Rollins, before Sheamus interfered in the match, was getting his ass whooped. He was about to lose the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Then Sheamus comes in, he interferes, and Seth Rollins is laying out on ringside, clutching the world championship, and then you have JBL talking about how great he is. And I sit there and I ask the question, what the fuck did he do? What did he do? That had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with him, unless he orchestrated Sheamus coming out and interfering, and then also orchestrated Sheamus almost cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase on him. Like, that had nothing whatsoever to do with Seth Rollins. So that doesn't make him great. If anything, it makes him lucky, and somebody on WWE TV needs to call him out for that. And I don't see that happening.
I think a lot of the confusion that's come up the last couple of weeks with Rollins' title run has also had to do with the fact that they weren't 100% sure if John Cena was actually going to be good to go when it comes to SummerSlam. And I think that uncertainty has kind of held WWE back from being able to do what they may have normally done in terms of build-up between Rollins and Cena. Not to say that was going to be amazing by any stretch, but it certainly could have been better than what we've gotten. And I'm not saying that what we've gotten's been crap, because the match with Neville last week was excellent, and I actually agree with Steven that the promo last week was really good, that's where me and Jay had differed on last week's show about that. But I do think that this week's Rollins felt different to me than the last 2 weeks. I thought the last 2 weeks Rollins was actually in a better direction from where he had been, although that doesn't instantly fix over what I want to see out of Seth Rollins as a WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I will still say that the last 2 weeks were pretty solid. This week itself, though, to me, was a step backwards. He runs away from Orton in that match, even though Orton had already fought in a triple threat earlier in the night, so Rollins had the champion's advantage. There's no reason why Randy Orton who had already been through a match with two other guys, would be able to cleanly RKO Rollins and be about to win the championship, and only for Sheamus to drag him out of the ring, when in reality Sheamus probably could have just let Orton pin him and then brogued Orton and won the title with the briefcase. But again, logic is logic. So I guess I have to think about it a little bit differently when it comes to WWE. But for me, I think this week Rollins, the opening promo he had with putting the moving mouth of Cena, I actually did get some chuckles out of that. I thought that was decent. His promos have been alright, but that doesn't change the fact that to me the character has been booked really, really poorly when it could be booked a whole hell of a lot better, and I don't feel the legitimacy. I still think that them even just so much as calling him only the future, like the future of the WWE, is still holding him back, just because of what they're saying about him. And with JBL, kind of placing these statements in there about how he's such a great champion and everything, it's like they're trying to brainwash you into thinking he's a great champion, when in reality the booking isn't doing anything to serve that, at least as far as I'm concerned.
I don't think you guys are seeing it correctly.
I need the booking to match the narrative of Seth Rollins, and it's not going together, because they talk about how awesome this guy is and how smart he is, but the way that his character is booked...
You guys are taking JBL's word as the narrative. He's a heel commentator.
But the thing is, if that's not challenged, then that is the narrative.
No, but it is. Michael Cole challenges it every time he opens his mouth, man.
He didn't last night or on Monday on Raw. I didn't hear him challenge that at all.
Well, maybe he didn't in that particular instance, but every time JBL says something like that, Cole is quick to point out, oh, he's running away and so. Like, you guys are being worked hard right now if you're taking JBL's word as anything serious. Like, yeah, you guys got to remember, too, like, this guy, Rollins, he didn't win the championship clean. He cashed in his Money in the Bank and he stole it from Lesnar versus Reigns. And so you would not expect him to be able to beat most guys clean, especially Randy Orton, because he lost to Randy the same night. And so, yeah, Randy did come out of a triple threat, but that was also like an hour and a half prior. And if you're Rollins, you're kind of thinking, well, shit, I could actually lose my title right now. So even if he has the advantage, there's still a bit of paranoia going on because he lost to Randy before. And so, like, I really think you guys are... Like, I always talk about logic and consistency, and when I see Rollins, he's the guy who stole the title. I don't expect him to be winning clean.
Yeah, I don't really
I'm going to pay attention to the show next week, and I'm going to see if anybody calls Seth Rollins and JBL out on their bullshit. Because the thing is, if JBL says these things and there are no challenges to what he says, then that is a narrative that WWE is setting, and that's not the narrative. The narrative doesn't match the way that he's booked. And if this is basically them trying to sell me a lie. This is them with an oatmeal raisin cookie telling me it's chocolate chip. Motherfucker, I know the difference, okay? I know the difference. Don't sell me oatmeal raisin.
They're not, though.
Chocolate damn chip.
They're not trying to sell you. Go ahead, Evan.
I was just going to say that, I don't take JBL's word for gospel or anything. The point I was trying to make is that it's almost as if JBL's being fed those lines through the fucking headset, and that we are now supposed to, again, it's like those are lines that are said to try to work us, to make us think these certain things. And I don't take his word for gospel. I just think that the fact that he's saying it isn't even just necessarily being a heel commentator. It's like them trying to force feed us to think that, and we don't think that. It's not very believable.
I disagree with both of you guys completely. I don't think WWE is trying to sell anyone that Rollins is the great champion. I think the whole narrative from the beginning is that Rollins stole the title and he can't get it done by himself. And JBL, of course, is praising him because JBL had the exact same title run on SmackDown. Of course he's praising Seth Rollins for doing exactly the same thing that JBL did for so long during his title run. So this is just, to me, this all makes perfect sense. And yeah, I agree that a lot of stuff with Rollins is stupid, but the overall direction of him as champion is consistent and it makes sense for his character.
I just don't remember any...
It definitely is consistent. I'll give them that.
I just don't remember any heel commentators having to go out of their way to point out things about Rollins that we're just supposed to see through what goes on in the ring. I feel like JBL's comments, it's one thing for him to praise Rollins, but it's almost like he's going out of the way to try to tell the story and try to assist in telling the story when the story should just be told to us without the commentators having to go that far. It's almost like when they tell us about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal being so prestigious. They use the word prestigious for that, even though there's nothing prestigious about that match because it has to be built up in order to freaking be prestigious. And you can say that's apples to oranges, but I think that's the problem with the modern day commentary team is that they try to have them tell the story without there actually being any substance to the actual character itself. Because yeah, okay, we get that Rollins is supposed to be a chicken shit, but it's like, how many great champions have been chicken shits? I mean, The Miz was the last chicken shit that I can remember, and he's the worst champion I've ever fucking seen. JBL's championship run might have been similar to that, but he still went in the damn ring and wrestled. He might have found ways to win, but it wasn't always in a cowardly manner, and I think that's where Seth Rollins has kind of fallen off the face of the earth as far as I'm concerned in his title run. That's why I think his character's gone so far downhill.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I don't think the commentary is good. I think JBL in particular is the worst one there. But I'm just saying, it makes sense that JBL of all people would be praising this because not only is he a heel, but he had a very similar title run. And yeah, I agree that he shouldn't be forcing it, but that's a problem with the commentary. It's not a problem with Seth Rollins.
I'll see if anyone challenges him. I'm gonna pay attention, and I need somebody to call it out. So. I guess we'll keep watching on that, and if you guys would like to comment on your WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins or anything regarding him or any topic at all that we discuss right here on PWF Empire Live, you're more than welcome to do so. One of the ways that you can do that is on Twitter with the hashtag PWF Empire, such as Rick at ENC_98. He wants to know from 1 to 5, rate the top wrestling shows: Raw, NXT, Lucha Underground, New Japan, and Ring of Honor. So, few things on this. New Japan doesn't quite have a wrestling show. I know they have that one on the Access channel, but I don't watch that one. And that one is just old matches. Like, I try to keep current with New Japan. And, speaking of New Japan, I have on this Shinsuke Nakamura shirt. This is a guy, if you don't know who he is, he would be my favorite wrestler in the world if I wasn't so damn lazy and, watch New Japan more often than I actually do. But I'm going to look at this as like the promotions as a whole. So if I'm ranking those, I have to take Ring of Honor out of the equation because I don't really watch Ring of Honor that much, and I don't feel comfortable rating something that I'm not too familiar with, that I haven't done my research on. So let's do 1 to 4. Number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, Lucha Underground. Number 2, New Japan. Number 3, I'm going to say NXT. And number 4, at the bottom of the list, is WWE's main roster. Do you guys have anything to add to this topic? You want to go ahead and rank, if possible, the shows that you do watch?
No, I have no disagreement with that list. In fact, I'd probably put ROH 5th anyway. I've watched the Destination America ROH, and I have a very hard time getting into it. I don't know. I've watched several episodes, too, and it's just not really for me, I guess. So, yeah, I'd probably put that number 5. And I think your list is really pretty much right on the money.
Okay, and we got another tweet here from Rick. He's quoting me saying, when I said I have a great disdain for Seth Rollins, he reminds me of The Miz as champion. And he posted a video where I was going crazy about The Miz winning the WWE Championship because I used to be a big Misfit back in the day. But here's the thing. I think Seth Rollins is better than that. That's as simple as it is. Like, I did get some enjoyment out of The Miz, but I'm quite sure no one would argue Seth Rollins being a much better potential WWE World Heavyweight Champion than The Miz, because there's so much more that you can do with Seth Rollins. He has a greater ceiling than The Miz does, so the fact that you would bring him down to The Miz's level just doesn't make sense to me. But, if you guys want to go ahead and interact with the show, you can do so with the hashtag on Twitter at PWF Empire. You can also watch the show live along with other viewers of PWF Empire live Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you would like to, you can go ahead and subscribe to us at youtube.com/PWF Empire. We're going to go ahead and move on to buy or sell now. And the first topic that we're going to be discussing regards Divas main eventing WrestleMania. And I want to go to the lady herself. This was Charlotte. She actually was part of a WWE showcase. They do these little features of these new divas that have made their way to WWE's main roster. And these were the words that Charlotte had to say for herself and her feature.
I don't look at myself as just a woman. I look at myself as I could be the biggest star in this company. The NXT Divas have come up and they're saying, hey, this is a revolution, we're changing the game. That's my focus. I will main event WrestleMania. Ronda Rousey, look at her. She is the highest grossing fighter right now. That's where the Divas division is going. Sky's the limit for me.
The most athletically gifted women you will ever see step inside a ring. That's what she's all about.
And I plan to go places no other Divas been before.
Well, you heard it from her lips. Charlotte says she will main event WrestleMania. And hearing this, and also reading some of the feedback that Charlotte has gotten from saying those words, I'm reminded of the old saying, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So that's what this buy or sell topic is going to be focused on. Does Charlotte, or do you buy or sell Charlotte needing a reality check and saying that she will main event WrestleMania?
No, I sell that. I think she's pretty awesome for saying that. Do I think it's going to happen? Hell no, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I'm a big fan of shooting for the stars and setting your goals the highest they can be. And if you're a wrestler, your goal should be to main event WrestleMania. And I know she's a diva, and a woman, to my knowledge, I'm fairly sure has never main evented a WrestleMania. So
I thought you were going somewhere else with that, the way that it sounded.
Well,
But,
I mean, yeah,
go ahead.
it seems far-fetched, but it could happen. You could make it happen, and I think Ronda Rousey has been the inspiration. Like, she was the one I was thinking of when I heard you pose that question. I hadn't even heard Charlotte give her opinion on this. And Ronda Rousey has broken ceilings in her sport, and I know this is different, but there's no reason in principle why it can't happen. It just would take a dramatic shift in the Divas direction. I don't think the current revolution is that shift, but I'm not going to say it's impossible.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say sell Charlotte needing a reality check, because the way that I see it, you will never achieve higher than your level of ambition. So if you come into WWE or any profession in this friggin' world and you say, I want to be at the middle of the pack, you may not be at the middle of the pack. You may end up lower than that. But one thing that I can guarantee, you will never get to the main event. If you come into WWE saying that I just want to be a mid-card, or I just want to get my check every week and I just want it to be the end of that, you'll never get any higher than that, because you don't have any incentive to go out there and tear the damn house down. This is Charlotte setting a goal for herself and giving herself an incentive to go out there and tear the walls down, blow the roof off the place. And I absolutely love those comments. And Steven, same question that you asked. Will it happen? Probably not. I could even go as far as to say hell no, but the fact that she's set the sky as a limit for herself, I think that that's an amazing mindset to have, because she's breaking down those gender barriers in WWE, and the mere fact that they've created an environment where someone can say something like that as a diva. You want to main event WrestleMania? As a big proponent of women in wrestling and changing the image that has existed for so long in WWE, I say hell yeah. Go for it, sister. I'm rooting for you.
Yep, I'm in the same boat as you guys. I would also sell that. She would need a reality check from that. To me, that statement is the biggest sign of any type of revolution that I've seen than anything that I've gotten on screen as far as the story, besides the amount of time that they've been given and the amount of matches they've had. That's the only symbol of revolution I've seen so far, and that statement is more revolutionizing than any of the other story they're attempting to tell on TV. So these little, video packages they're putting together for these divas have been not only very well done, but lines like that, things like that, that's what makes a freaking revolution happen, is somebody who wants to do something that's never been done. So I think that's fantastic, and even though the chances of that happening aren't there, it's still a great thing to hear, and I love the amount of effort that she wants to put into her career and this revolution, and I believe every word that she has to say. I don't think that's Charlotte, the character, talking. I think that's the woman inside of her, that's the heart beating inside of her that is saying, I want this to be a change. So that's fantastic.
Next up on Buy or Sell, we're going to be discussing Cesaro. This guy has a new swell of support behind him. He's always had tons of fans. He's always had that Cesaro section, but that section has grown even bigger. It's as big as it has ever been in WWE currently. But looking at Cesaro and looking at him breaking through to the other side and this uncharted territory for him in WWE, he has been losing matches pretty frequently. Anytime he gets into the ring for a big match, you have the triple threat match weeks ago. It was the #1 contendership for the United States Championship. He lost that. Then you have this match on this past episode of Monday Night Raw, triple threat match for the #1 contendership to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And you also have the match that he had with John Cena. And I think he had 2 matches with John Cena. But yeah, the fact is, Cesaro has been losing some matches or not coming away as a definitive winner, getting a straight up win. So I've been thinking about this, and there are a few different scenarios going on in my head right now. One of those scenarios is, this is basically WWE's way of telling Cesaro, know your role and shut your mouth, and sending the message to the WWE universe is that this is exactly where this guy is. He doesn't or shouldn't have any ambitions to get any higher on the card, because we're establishing his status right now. He can get his wins every now and again, but anytime he steps into the ring with somebody like a John Cena, a Randy Orton, or whoever it may be, he loses. So that is the question for you guys. Do you buy or sell WWE letting everyone know that Cesaro can't get any higher than where he is right now?
Well, I sell that, not because I don't think WWE would do something like that, because I think they would, and I think they have done it in the past, but I don't think that's what they're doing here. I think really they didn't expect Cesaro to blow up like this, and I know it hasn't been a blow up on par with, say, CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, but he has kind of been unexpectedly, inadvertently pushed due to fan reaction, due to Austin's comments, due to John Cena's opinion, and just all this mix of things has led to Cesaro being someone that people want to see. And I don't think they were prepared for that, and I don't think they had him in their cards, and I think they have some sort of outline of who is getting pushed around what time, and Cesaro just wasn't factored into that. And now they're trying to shoehorn Cesaro into their plans, but he can't really win because that would involve a change of plans, which I don't think they're willing to do. So I think that's sort of where Cesaro's been caught. I don't think they're intentionally sabotaging him. even though, like I said, I wouldn't put it past them because I've seen them do it before. To Zack Ryder in particular, I'm thinking of. But I don't think that's what they're doing here.
See, that was never real with Zack Ryder. I don't give a damn what anybody says. That guy, he's always going to have a ceiling to him and his career. But when I look at Cesaro...
I agree with that, yeah. Zack Ryder was always a mid-card guy, but he was a mid-card guy that people wanted to see, and now he's not even on television for the most part. So that, to me, that was a definite sabotage.
And they ripped our interest right away from Zack Ryder. Like, after he was United States champion and all that interest that we had, and I mean, come on, that was a great build-up to that match, like, because it was exciting, and in the moment was pretty damn cool. Yeah, sure, he was only a mid-card guy, but they literally, that storyline in early 2012, I want to say, really completely killed any chance of me even really caring about him anymore. And he's a guy who really built himself up from scratch in a way. So
that's what he gets for trying to get himself over.
Yeah,
he should know the rules. You can't do stuff like that. You can't take initiative. What the hell were you thinking?
Yeah, what the fuck is that, right?
but as far as Cesaro is concerned, I'm gonna go ahead and sell this, and I'm pretty much gonna piggyback off of what Stephen was talking about. It's just a simple situation where they don't really have a place for Cesaro quite yet in that top tier in WWE. And the fact that he's losing matches, I don't look at it as such a huge deal because I like the fact that they are slowly building someone up. I don't want you to be the type of person that jumps into the ring and especially seeing as they just did that with Kevin Owens too, like jumping in the ring and beating people like John Cena and Randy Orton off the bat. I want you to let Cesaro marinate. Let him take his time to grow into the new status that he has in WWE. And then if you want to reevaluate it at a different point in time and then decide at that point you want to move him up or maybe even create a storyline off of this, where this guy, every time he gets into the ring, like he delivers a great fight, but it's just not enough. And then whatever it is inside of him that he needs to, flip that switch on, and it happens. And that win, that big win that he gets, the biggest win of his entire career, it's going to make that moment all the more special. So maybe that's what we're waiting on. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sell this on Cesaro.
So now you want to know whether I buy or sell the know your role and shut your mouth element to this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will say that I sell the fact that they would be saying something like that to Cesaro because I personally think that they may not have had a conscious long-term plan, which I don't think they have with many of these things in the entire company in terms of long-term planning. I don't think that's really in their forte anymore. But I don't think that was exactly what they were expecting when John Cena faced him for the first match that they had when that got such high praise. But I think they knew that the fans already liked Cesaro. I think they knew that this was the kind of guy that could get over pretty well. But once they saw how great the outpour of reaction was after that, I think they couldn't help but at least try to feature him in a decent way. And now that once they saw some magic with Owens and him, I think they just wanted to keep going upon that. And I don't think that they would be saying, know your role and shut your mouth with a guy like Cesaro. It is the only thing that would make me wonder that is because I do remember Vince McMahon saying that he didn't think Cesaro had it in the past, which is obviously something that could play a good counter argument to this and say that that's maybe they are saying that to a guy like Cesaro. And I personally think that he needs that victory at SummerSlam a lot more than Kevin Owens does. So if he loses at SummerSlam, I think it actually could be a way of them starting to say something like that. But I really think that he does need to beat Kevin Owens and definitely needs some victories. I do agree that he does need to marinate and, he shouldn't just flat out win. There shouldn't be no challenge for a babyface. The whole you want him as a babyface to have to overcome some obstacles and to face some challenges and some tough opponents. But I do think winning at a Big Four pay-per-view like SummerSlam is really necessary for Cesaro's character. So overall, I will say that I do sell it in terms of them saying something like that to him because I don't think that's their attitude. I don't think they even fucking know what they really want to do with Cesaro because of that lack of long-term planning that they have. So I'm going to say that that's not the case here, but the match between him and Owens is could be seen as critical for both guys, but I think it's more critical for a guy like Cesaro who's been around for a few years already.
And we will definitely, if that's the direction that they're going in for SummerSlam, talk about that on our preview show, which will be taking place Monday after Raw, immediately after that show on PWFEmpire.com, so that you guys have that to look forward to, and something else to look forward to, which will be taking place at SummerSlam. We have King Barrett and Stardust taking on Neville and his partner, Stephen Amell, who is, I guess, more widely known as the Arrow from the show on CW. He appeared on Monday Night Raw and got into it with Stardust. Stardust came down to the ring and he actually pie-faced Steven, who was sitting in the front row in the crowd, and Steven jumped over the damn barricade, hopped into the ring, tackled Stardust, and went to work on him. And we had a few things happen, and through all that happened, like I said, that tag team match will be taking place at SummerSlam. So I want to go ahead and pose this question to my co-host and also the PWF Empire Live viewers. Do you buy or sell Stephen Amell's involvement in Monday Night Raw and the match that he will be competing in at SummerSlam?
Yeah, I buy it. I don't really know who this guy is. I know who he plays on TV, but I'm not familiar with the guy. I know that he's a wrestling fan, and I know that he's been feuding with Stardust kind of on Twitter for the past who knows how long. And so I think it's really cool. And I think it's been presented in a really interesting way, because for a mid-card feud, it was presented in a pretty legit manner. You know, I think Triple H being backstage and yelling at him, I think that made it a lot more hype, because it actually felt like something legit was happening and not just some cartoony Clash of the Superheroes. And
yeah,
so
it felt real too, because, you know, getting emasculated by the Authority, that's the authentic WWE superstar experience. So Stephen Amell got the whole works.
Yeah, absolutely. But and I'm just glad Stardust is in something semi-important, you know. This is the kind of thing where usually you would expect WWE to use a celebrity on someone else. Like, I know that, like, they would have taken him and been like, no, you don't want to face Stardust, you want to face Sheamus or something. But I'm glad they put him with Stardust, because that just makes a whole bunch of sense.
Yeah, I thought that this was awesome. I am buying the entire hell out of this. I actually am familiar with Stephen Amell. I watch Arrow. I love the show, and I think he's just an all-around awesome dude. And the fact that he's a wrestling fan makes him even more awesome. And I think that played a great deal in why he was so good in his role. I have to say, that's one of the best uses of a celebrity on WWE TV in years. As much as I liked Jon Stewart when he came on, he was mixing it up with Seth Rollins, I would even rank this one above that one, because you had the physicality there. And it's so funny, because I look at this and I've been seeing people talk about how good he was in that role, and I've seen a lot of people say, well, why didn't you expect him to be good? Because, you know, he's an actor, he acts for a living. But to say something like that makes it seem as if that is the standard that has been set in WWE. And to be quite honest, that is not the fucking standard. Most of the people that WWE get on the show in the form of celebrities, they're absolutely terrible. They look like deer in the headlights, or they do the very corny thing where they try to ham up their personality. And like, this is something that I hate. Like, anytime you see WWE go to like their audience and they're like, oh, you know, this cast of so-and-so is in the audience, or anytime you have sports stars, they always do that stupid ass headlock thing and they're like play fighting and stuff like that. Some of that has to do with the fact that they have this caricature of wrestling in their mind. They have this warped vision where it's like this big cartoonish thing, not to be taken seriously. But with Stephen Amell, he has a great respect for the business, and he took it seriously, and he felt as if he was a part of that world. And that's what made it so awesome, that he didn't feel so out of place. Like, he fit right in. So yeah, I buy this, and I'm really excited to see how he actually performs when we get to SummerSlam.
Yeah, because honestly, the Neville and Stardust feud, to me, I didn't give a freaking crap about it. Not because of the way that it would have been built up or anything, because I think the whole comic book thing could have worked. And actually wasn't that bad, with like Stardust saying "Be my hero," and certain elements to it were actually fairly cool, but there wasn't really any substance or true build to it. You have Neville going from like being in this feud to being in a WWE Championship match and all that. So I don't know. I felt that this was, again, I agree that this of a celebrity, I think that was one of the best that I've seen. So 100% agree with what you're saying here. I really isn't a whole lot else for me to add besides the fact that I thought that Stephen Amell really, to me, showed that he could just get in that ring and look like anybody, like look like a freaking pro wrestler. He just jumps over the top rope flawlessly, gets into the ring, starts laying out some forearms. So it was really impressive on his part as well. And you know, again, I think Jay brought up a good point when it comes to like sports stars and different things like that, and how a lot of those guys, it feels like they're on the outside looking in, and Stephen Amell felt like he was just part of the show, you know. And for a feud that I didn't really give a damn about, if you're going to use a celebrity on a Big Four pay-per-view, don't have some you know, musician that I don't care about their songs come and sing or some shit like that. Have somebody actually get involved in something like this. This is perfect to me. I'd much rather have an actor who makes sense to be in a match, you know, not a Snooki or something stupid like that. An actor like Stephen Amell who's in an action show you know, anyway, and it makes sense for him to be in a wrestling match. It's perfect. This is the best, as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned when it comes to using a celebrity. And to me, it spices this feud up and makes me care a whole lot more about it than I would have otherwise.
Next up, we are going to be discussing the number one contenders match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It was a triple threat on this past episode of Monday Night Raw. It featured Kevin Owens, Cesaro, and Randy Orton. I've been seeing some of the response to this match, and I've seen a lot of people say that the wrong guy went over in this match. They would have loved to have seen maybe a Kevin Owens or a Cesaro win in this situation, but at the end of the day, it was Randy Orton walking away with that victory and going on to the main event, Monday Night Raw. So, do you all buy or sell Randy Orton as a winner of that match?
Yeah, I was really pissed off when that happened. It keeps happening when Cesaro's in these big matches, and I think for sure he's going to win this one. But no, he doesn't. It's someone else who wins. And it's not that Randy Orton, it's not that I don't like him. It's just that I really wanted Cesaro to win. I think Cesaro should be getting these big wins, not necessarily beating Cena clean. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he could afford to win the triple threat and then lose to Rollins clean in the main event. I think that would have been a good showing, even if he did lose to Rollins clean, because, like I said, he's been in a triple threat match. So I don't see why it had to be Orton. I just don't. I think it's like you really need to give Cesaro some wins. You need to start. If you want to push him, even if it's not right away, you have to be willing to start putting the breadcrumbs in place where you could look back and say, yeah, Cesaro got this one, he got this one, he got this one. But as of right now, it's just, well, Cesaro had this great match, which in the universe doesn't really say much. That just means you did a lot of reversals or something. I'm not even sure what a great match is in the storyline. But I don't know. It's just he hasn't had any good wins.
See, I'm going to go ahead and buy the fact that Randy Orton won this match because I don't like when I think world title matches come entirely too easy in this generation in WWE. Or I'm not even necessarily saying that it didn't happen in the past, but I like the fact that they had a star of the caliber of Randy Orton competing in that match because the top tier in WWE is very thin. I don't know if you guys realize this, but there are only a few people who could possibly be legitimate contenders to the World Heavyweight Championship, and I want Cesaro to get to that point before he actually competes in a match. Like, I was sitting there and I was listening to you talk, and I hear, like, this could be the way to get Seth Rollins a clean win. Once again, we are in this situation where it's like damned if you do and damned if you don't with the way the WWE tells their stories, because that's something that I do want to see from Seth Rollins, him getting into the ring and getting a clean win. But I don't want to say, I want you to face Cesaro for the purpose of getting a clean win. You know, I don't want to throw him in that match just to lose.
Well,
and
it could be, but it's not just for him to get a clean win. It's also for Cesaro to get a clean win in the triple threat and then have a showing in the main event. And I don't know. To me, it accomplishes both purposes. I think that would have been the smarter move. And like you're saying, you want Cesaro to be built up, and I agree. And I think the way you build up someone to the main event is you have him beat upper mid-carders. And Cesaro can't beat upper mid-carders. He can't beat Randy Orton, who is an upper mid-carder at the moment.
See, maybe this wasn't the right situation then, because when I think of build, I don't think of, okay, I want you in a world championship match tomorrow, or hell, it was the night of Monday Night Raw. Maybe you get him some wins in matches that don't really have world championship implications quite yet, because I think that's a little too much to take on. I want those moments to feel special. And I look at Dean Ambrose and the matches that he had with Seth Rollins for the world championship. Those don't seem special to me, and they should be, because those were singles matches, your first singles matches for the world championship, and the way that they just threw them on, it didn't feel special. Like, I want those moments to return in WWE, and we don't get enough of them today, because they just throw people in matches just because they know they're going to lose.
No, I agree with that, but that was different because that was a regular feud. This feud with Cena and Rollins is based off of John Cena's being the better champion, and he's done that by facing all challengers. And so the general atmosphere of the feud right now is John Cena defends his title against everyone. Seth Rollins doesn't defend his title against everyone. And so it makes sense in the context of this particular feud to give a world title shot to someone like Cesaro. Especially if it's just on Raw, and especially if he doesn't win. I don't see the harm in that. I know, I agree with you when you say that title shots are given out frequently. But, I mean, Neville just got one last week. If you could give one to Neville, why can't you give one to Cesaro? I mean, it's just like... And look, it works because I remember with Neville... He almost won the title, and we all bought that for a second there. And this is why I think Rollins is not a bad champion. And it goes back to what Jim Ross said about Rollins, is that he's a beatable champion. At any time, this guy could lose his title, and you would believe it because he's not been booked strong. And that's a very particular benefit that you get from not having a strong world champion that nobody really takes into consideration.
See, we're breaking off into a different discussion here, but I actually want to pick up off of that because I actually read those comments from Jim Ross, and he was talking about how Seth Rollins is a Booker's dream because he's a beatable champion. I don't really see it that way. Well, he may be a Booker's dream, but he's my nightmare, because when it comes to Seth Rollins being a beatable champion, if he was winning matches on his own volition, like if he was doing it on his own and he actually found a way to outsmart his opponents with some kind of strategy and things like that, I could understand that being said. He's a Booker's dream, but I know that anytime Seth Rollins gets into the ring, the only way that he's going to retain his championship is through some various forms of fuckery. And that's the problem. We saw what happened on Monday Night Raw. We saw what happened at, what was his last pay-per-view? What was it, Money in the Bank or Battleground? Battleground.
It was Battleground. That's right.
Yeah, we saw what happened there. Like, that Seth Rollins, their go-to thing with Seth Rollins is fuckery. So if you don't enhance the character while making him a beatable champion, then it doesn't have as much value in my eyes, and they haven't done enough to enhance Seth Rollins' character.
Really though, because like I don't know if it was the same for you, but when he was fighting Neville and Neville almost beat him, like I felt a level of excitement that I wouldn't normally feel, because I actually thought, due to the way Rollins has been booked, that Neville could beat him. Even though, if I sit down and think about it logically, of course Neville's not beating Rollins, but like when I'm invested into the match, it's like, oh shit, he might actually do it, because it looks like he's gonna, if it wasn't for that foot on the rope, you know. And so, I mean, this is kind of off topic to Cesaro and to Orton winning the triple threat, but I'm just saying, like, the general atmosphere of WWE right now is that Cena defends his title. He's setting the pace for everyone else. And so why shouldn't Rollins defend his title against all comers too? And I know Rollins is a heel; he doesn't want to do that. That's why he was forced into it by the Authority, which I think makes no sense. But if we're gonna do it, okay. I don't mind it because, like I said, that's the general climate during this particular season, whatever past few months, and during this particular feud where it's like, okay, who's the better champion, Cena or Rollins? And so it makes sense because Cena has defended his title against Cesaro. Why can't Rollins do it too?
Okay. So we're going to move on now to discuss the Shield, or at least the broken pieces of the Shield, the ones that remain. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. WWE has done a great deal to reinforce in our minds the fact that these two are friends. They're buddies. They're pals. They're BFFs. And being the wrestling fans that we are all preparing for one of them to stab the other in the back, because friends don't exist in wrestling. Being friends in wrestling, that's only foreshadowing a damn heel turn. Like, which one of you guys is gonna, fuck the other one up? So I guess that's what we're waiting on now for SummerSlam. But there are some of us who want it to happen. There are some of us who don't want it to happen. So this is what we're going to discuss right now. Do you buy or sell a Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose heel turn at SummerSlam?
I'd buy
Before you answer, because
okay,
we talked about this literally like 2 minutes before the show started. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns did a joint interview with Michael Cole on WWE's website. You saw this interview, correct?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
And you said it was great. Could you just repeat that for me?
It was a great interview. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, so with that in mind, now, do you buy or sell Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose turning on each other?
I still buy it because I'm dying for an Ambrose heel turn. Because I think face Ambrose is so limited that it's disgusting. Like, I'm just sick of it because Ambrose is like my secret favorite wrestler, but only in theory, not in practice. Because in practice, it's like, oh, I'm so sick of this guy with the jeans and the t-shirt coming out and being goofy. And then I see Ambrose, and I'm like, I just see the potential just for a great heel run. And in particular, I've been dying for him to pair up with Wyatt. Like, I posed that on my YouTube channel, which has like 3 subscribers, so I doubt anyone has seen it. But I talk about how
I'll subscribe to
yeah,
go up by 33% instantly.
He would be a great addition to the Wyatt family in a different role, not in a sort of blind follower way, but I don't know if you want me to go into this now, but I always thought of it as like there's a movie called The Master where it's about a cult leader who basically gets involved with this war veteran, and the war veteran basically becomes attached to the cult leader, and the cult leader is trying desperately to tame him. He's like this wild dog who has PTSD from the war, and he's looking for a purpose, and the cult leader is looking to fit him into his ideology. And I think that would be a great relationship for Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose to have, where instead of Ambrose being like the brainwashed Luke Harper, Ambrose is like this attack dog who needs an outlet because he used to have the Shield, now he doesn't, and he's not getting anything done, and so he needs some sort of direction. And I think this is just a pairing made in heaven. I've been dying to see it, so I'm going to buy it no matter how much I like Roman Reigns and Ambrose together. And I'm not saying I wouldn't mind a Roman Reigns heel turn either, but I think now would be the terrible time to do it because the whole narrative is set up that Roman Reigns is the good guy, and it would just make no sense if he turned on Dean. Whereas Dean Ambrose turning on Reigns, I think, would make a lot more sense because whereas Roman Reigns has been achieving things this past year, Ambrose hasn't. I mean, he's gotten his title matches, but he hasn't come out on top unless you count that one time where he did and then they reversed the decision. But he has to be frustrated, and he has to be angry, and he has to be a little bit jealous of Rollins and Reigns, and so it just makes perfect sense.
You know, Stephen, I've given you props and praise on your thoughtfulness, and that all sounded awesome. But here's the thing. I am selling the entire hell out of it. No. No, because I saw that interview, and I already thought that Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, they're just greatest partners. They're great together. But that reinforced it even more because I see these two guys and I see the dynamic that exists between them, and I don't want to break that. Like, I don't want to go away from that because I think that this is something that doesn't really happen often in wrestling, that you have two friends on the show, two friends where they're not necessarily a full-time tag team, but they just have each other's back and they're in segments with each other and they talk. And just like seeing this between Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, it's so refreshing. And there's something about those two guys together. I don't know what it is, what they unlock within each other, but it's like both of them are good on their own. And I've seen flashes of brilliance from both Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns individually, but together, that's a pair that can't be beat. Like, I saw the way that they played off of each other in that interview. I saw the way that they played off of each other on Monday Night Raw. It's just too awesome and too refreshing for me to give up at this point in time. Like, maybe we'll get down the line where it's not necessarily something that happened like with Seth Rollins, where there's just this one big moment where everything just collapses. Maybe we'll get like a slow kind of just a dissolution of their bond, but I'm hoping that it's like a long way off. I don't want to see it anytime soon, so I'm going to go ahead and sell the possibility of a heel turn from either of these guys.
I am all in for them, one of them turning on each other at SummerSlam. I am so tired of the I am so tired of the direction of, or lack thereof, direction of both of these guys. I know they got something with each other. Like, they do make a good team. They were entertaining even on Raw in that one little segment. But damn it, I am so tired of both of these guys being in no man's land, mid-card hell, especially Ambrose. He goes from being in a championship match in June to now jobbing out every week and being absolutely irrelevant, even despite the fact that he's still over and still a good wrestler and still somebody that everyone can like and enjoy. But there's no reason to get behind him right now because, there's really no direction for the guy. And the same can be said for Roman Reigns, a guy who won the Royal Rumble and main evented WrestleMania this year. I don't see where the hell Roman Reigns fits into the plans going forward. One of these guys turning on the other can lead to something brand new for them, and maybe it's just because they're in such a bad position that I feel this way, but I don't care which one it is. I just want a damn heel turn at SummerSlam.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with all of that, and I know, Jay, what you're saying. Like, I hear it. I really do, because I love their partnership too, and I agree. I think that you need friendships more often because that's a bit of continuity that actually stuck, and I really appreciate that WWE does that. I really do. Except I do wonder where Roman Reigns was when Ambrose was getting his skull crushed in by Rollins. But aside from that, they have upheld the friendship. But look, even if they were to stick together, it wouldn't last. It's not like they would be tag team partners. It's not like they would be the Shield minus Rollins. If anything, they'll just finish up the Wyatt feud and then go their separate ways again. And are you really willing to sacrifice a heel Ambrose or a heel Reigns for just the possibility of them having a few cool segments? Because that seems to be what... Well, but I don't know about that, man. Because look, face Ambrose and face Reigns, they're both kind of shitty, to be honest. I mean, they're not bad, but they're kind of shitty.
But face Ambrose and face Reigns as friends is awesome.
Yeah, it is, but that's not their constant direction. These guys have to break out as singles guys. We all know that. We don't want them as a tag team.
I'm also thinking of the Wyatt group or whatever the hell this is now. I don't want to call it a family because it's just Luke and Bray, but, you know, the Wyatts here, where the fuck do they go if one of these guys doesn't join them or they don't get a win or something? Like, I mean, come on, the Wyatt character has already suffered enough. I think we need to see something new with the Wyatts.
I'm not sacrificing Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns for Bray Wyatt, no.
I do think something is going to happen with Wyatt. Whether or not there's a heel turn, I think they're getting new members. I don't know who that will be, but it could be someone from NXT that we don't even think about. Even if it was just somebody revealed, like that to me would be valuable at SummerSlam. Like if we're not going to get a Reigns or Ambrose heel turn, at least tell me somebody new is going to be involved with the Wyatts or something is going to help that clan out because they need momentum like crazy. They need momentum yesterday.
I could go with that. So have we reached a consensus? No Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose heel turn. Just bring somebody else up. Are you cool with that, Steven?
The Dean Ambrose heel turn is the thing I'm waiting for so desperately right now.
I want that the most too. Yep. I won't be as satisfied if it's somebody else. I'll still be happier, but I want it to be Ambrose or Reigns turning on each. I know it's kind of predictable, but
you could settle for happier though, right? Hell, there are some people who would like die for happiness. Like the fact that you won't be pissed off, I think that's worth something, you know. That's worth something, right?
Yeah.
I just want to say, look, I'm telling you, when Ambrose turns heel, you will see the potential of this guy. You will change your mind about everything you've ever said about Dean Ambrose, and I'm just dying for it to happen, man. So I'll sacrifice it.
Yep. I want full fucking happiness, not 50%. I want 100%.
Man. You know what? One way that I guess we could possibly get to 100% happiness, if this is kind of like a, this is a consolation prize. I want to go ahead and enter into our next segment here on PWF Empire Live and do a little bit of fantasy booking. We have some uncertainty surrounding the SummerSlam card right now. I don't believe that Sheamus, Randy Orton, Cesaro, or Kevin Owens have an official match on the show. At least they didn't the last time that I checked the card. And we have gotten like a kind of quasi-confirmation that it will indeed be Seth Rollins versus John Cena for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and the United States Championship, winner take all. But I want to throw all of these guys into one big group, and I want to know, if you guys were calling the shots, what would you do with the matchups and the different combinations with these guys heading into SummerSlam?
I want you guys to go first because when I got this question, I kind of like went overboard with it. So I kind of like booked the entire card again. So I'll just go last.
No, you could go ahead and run it down. I want to see what you got.
Okay. Well, so I did more than just rework SummerSlam. Like I would have reworked the past pay-per-view. I would have had Brock Lesnar win the title.
Yeah, you did go overboard.
But let me finish.
Give you an inch and you just take a mile.
I would have Brock Lesnar with the title, and I would have him face Randy Orton because this is a match that people have been waiting to happen. Yes. And I'm trying to think if Brock Lesnar did win the title, where could he go from there? And I think Randy would be a good SummerSlam opponent. Aside from that, I would put John Cena against Kevin Owens and Cesaro. This is the match that I've been wanting to see for like the past 2 pay-per-views. And I think it really has a lot of potential because you could have someone beat Cena without having it be a squeaky clean win, and you could also have some fuckery involved between Owens and Cesaro, so I think there's just a lot of potential there. So I would have those 3 in a triple threat for the U.S. title. I would have Seth Rollins versus Sting, which is, I know, kind of out of left field, but I was thinking to myself, who could Rollins face after he loses the title? And I'm like, well, you don't want to give him Kane because that's something no one wants to see.
I personally, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just think that opponent could totally be Triple H, and I think that'd be a sick match. But
if you heard me last time, I'm not on board with the whole Sting versus Triple H, but it could be. But it would also need a bit more build-up, not just 1 month, you know. And I say Sting because I remember when Sting was doing the whole Survivor Series angle, there was something going on between him and Rollins that I really wanted to see. I wanted to see Rollins versus Sting, not Triple H versus Sting. And so I think
I was talking more like Rollins versus Triple H.
No, yeah, no, I know what you meant. I'm not interested in that, but I know everyone else is. I'm just the only one.
Can I just say that I think you are the only person in the entire world that was like, Sting and Seth Rollins. There's something there.
I think there's something there because honestly, I don't know how you guys didn't see. Like when they were doing promos on when Rollins was doing promos on Sting, like I thought that would have been a great match for him. But I know it's kind of out of left field. I was just kind of thinking which opponent would be. And look, if they're pulling Undertaker out of the ass, then I could put Sting out of the ass. Like, come on.
Okay, touche.
And aside from that, I would keep Wyatt family versus Reigns and Ambrose, and I would do Sheamus versus Ryback probably. So that's my whole revitalized card with no Undertaker, because even though I'm excited for the match, I still think it's kind of unneeded.
Okay, Evan, you have anything that you would have changed about SummerSlam or a direction that you would go from here?
Well, I kind of, put the pretense of like, we are we're not post battle at a point where Brock Lesnar has not yet received his rematch. So Battleground, Brock Lesnar wasn't fighting Rollins for the belt at Battleground, and Taker and Lesnar are not having a rematch because I don't think that feud calls for a redemption storyline, and I'm not a fan of that whole thing. So to me, Taker and Lesnar wouldn't even be on this card. Now I do agree that Taker being on the card is good in terms of like a marketing purpose and getting more people to be interested because it's Taker. But me as a longtime fan, I don't want to see this match. I don't. So I would probably just have it doesn't sound that damn good, but I would try to have a legit Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar for the belt as one match. Another match, because they were going in this, or could have potentially gone in this direction, is a U.S. title match. Cena, Owens, and Cesaro triple threat, and that would have been a chance for either Cesaro or Owens to have a huge moment. Either that, or you could have had Owens win it at Battleground and then had the triple threat, because Cena would have been entitled to his rematch anyway. So you could have really had a cool dynamic with that whole thing. As far as the IC title goes, I probably would have had utilized Mark Henry against Ryback, and I know that might sound out of left field. That's my out of left field match, I guess you could say. But again, I think Mark Henry is always a guy that I just saw. I think it was Bleacher Report or some site recently that just said they could still be using Mark Henry in a really solid way. They could still use him to really help put over talent, but actually make him look legit before doing so, instead of making him lose a match to Rusev in 2 minutes or barely even be featured. I think him versus Ryback for the IC title could actually be good. I remember when they faced each other at WrestleMania, and the match was completely disappointing because Henry won when he literally fell on top of Ryback. I don't want to really talk about it. That was a stupid, stupid moment. But in this case, at SummerSlam here, you could have Ryback overcome the World's Strongest Man, because you could actually tell that story, and have an Intercontinental Championship match. Maybe not that's like a technical masterpiece, obviously, but one that actually is a couple of, really strong individuals, going at it, and that could be pretty good. Again, Mark Henry's character's gone way the fuck downhill in the last couple of years, so there's that. Another thing I might have done, and I know I'm kind of going along the whole card as well, is have the Primetime Players win the titles here. I think they won the titles in an unmemorable fashion. I was actually disappointed when they won the titles because I wanted it to be a bigger moment for them. I wish that them and New Day and Primetime Players were feuding all summer, but that the New Day kept finding way after way to continue to beat the Primetime Players and continue to look strong and continue to be something great, and then the Primetime Players would finally overcome that challenge, overcome all those sneaky ways that New Day has, and win the titles at a Big Four pay-per-view, because I just feel like that's the babyface moment for Primetime Players. It's cliche, yes, but it would work really well, and it would be, to me, a story that they could have built all summer for the tag titles. Now, anything else? I might have had a briefcase match, Sheamus putting his briefcase on the line against like a Dean Ambrose or something like that. Give him a match that's actually decent. Maybe like again, we've always heard the rumor of Roman Reigns versus Triple H. I'm not exactly sure what the narrative would be because I didn't have enough time to really think that whole thing through. But I'd like to see Triple H and Roman Reigns. It'd be a big match for Reigns to be put in and be a part of. And I just feel like that would be a pretty good card for SummerSlam. But I mean, there might be more matches, but that's basically the big ones.
I'm gonna go ahead and keep it short and simple. I wanted what I would like to see at SummerSlam is in addition to some of the things that they have going on right now, like I'm cool with it, I'll go ahead and accept it. I would have loved to have seen a number one contenders match for the Divas Championship and also for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, because I think far too often WWE gets themselves into situations where they try to force storylines to make this person the number one contender. And I can go back to what happened with Dean Ambrose, where he threatened Seth Rollins to get a championship match. And I don't like when stuff like that happens. I like the whole setup that we got on Monday Night Raw, where you actually had Randy Orton winning a match, becoming the number one contender. And WWE did that in a way where it all took place on one night. I would love to see a situation where someone gets into the ring, they have a match with a few other guys, and they win that match, and then you start a whole month-long storyline with them winning that match from one pay-per-view to the next. So that's what I would have liked to have seen in their case. And maybe with the Divas Championship number one contender spot, like Steven was talking about, start up a tournament or something like that and make these matches that are happening on these shows mean something. That's one of the big things that's missing from the Divas division right now is stakes. And I understand that you're trying to condition the audience to look to the Divas and realize that there are good things happening there, but you need those stakes on the line, and you need something for Nikki Bella to do. I think that they're doing a great disservice to her as Divas champion right now, because she is one of the best in the division right now, even with all of the new divas that have come on. And I want to see her in more competitive situations. I want to see that hunger, that crave for the power that the Divas Championship has. If that's the reason why we're starting this revolution, and if that's the end goal, we need to start seeing those building blocks set into place right now, and people unseating her as Divas champion. Like, I don't see that sense of urgency in the Divas division right now, and I think that that's something that is sorely missing. If we get that, if we get a goal for them to actually achieve an achievable goal, because when they go out there and they're talking about domination, and I want to dominate and we want to be the best, what do you mean by dominate? What do you mean by be the best? How do you become the best? We need some kind of maybe physical representation, like a title, a championship.
Well, do you mean the butterfly belt?
It's tough. It's hard. I understand. It's kind of hard to want that, but I mean, it's there. You know,
I want to see.
I
want to see them do this Rollins Cena feud with Sasha Banks and Nikki, because that's a chance to really like retcon this whole butterfly thing and replace it with something a bit more prestigious.
Are you saying like a unification match?
I wouldn't mind. I mean, I know that NXT kind of needs a title, but on the other hand, I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind if SummerSlam was like the starting point of the revolution. Like, we didn't even have any of this 3-team stuff, and that you end up having like Nikki Bella say that she has been champion for so long and has dominated this entire division, and there's nobody left for her to face, and then like a Sasha Banks comes out and challenges her and puts her belt on the line for Nikki's belt on the line. Like, I know it wouldn't be like a thing that got built up, but like, what a moment at SummerSlam that would have been. And then you could have had like afterwards, there could have been, didn't even have to be like a clean finish of the match. You could have had like a run in from like Charlotte could have ended up coming out. Like, they could have had all of this happen, not necessarily 3-person teams, but you could have had this like Divas revolution happen at SummerSlam, and it could have been like an enormous moment for a Big 4 pay-per-view. And it, like, that being the starting point of a revolution, to me would be worth your money for the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what distinguishes a pay-per-view from regular television. That might sound like something that would happen on Raw, but why can't it happen on a big pay-per-view, you know?
Alrighty, guys, we're going to go ahead and close out this edition of PWF Empire Live with The Swerve. I picked one story out of the news this past week, and I am going to decide whether I turn face on that story, which it will elicit praise from me, or I turn heel and I go on a rant. So here's the thing. I am turning heel on one Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I checked out the recent interview that all 3 members of the New Day did with Chris Jericho on the Talk is Jericho podcast, and they gave some great insight on the way that things work backstage in WWE when it concerns Vince McMahon and coming up with gimmicks and things like that. So just to give you guys a little bit of backstory, the very first moment that I saw those New Day vignettes that WWE aired on Monday Night Raw in anticipation for their re-debut, I said, this is a troll job. There's no way in hell that anybody could look at this and say this is going to be a successful gimmick. Like, I couldn't my mind couldn't compute that. And then I see what happened on Monday Night Raw, and I'm like, this is a hot ass mess. Like, I can't, this has to be a troll job. And lo and behold, it was not a troll job. The members of New Day, they talked about how Vince McMahon intended for that to be their legit gimmick, and talked about how they were going to be white meat baby faces and they were going to get over like crazy being preachers. And that just gets to a certain level of out of touch that the world has not fucking seen before. And the fact that the members of New Day had to come together and basically concoct a conspiracy. They had to concoct a conspiracy where they intentionally sabotaged their own gimmick just to force WWE to turn them heel. So realize that the New Day that we see today was not the end goal at the inception of this gimmick. This happened on accident. This happened because they had to sabotage themselves just to turn heel. So for the level of out of touchness that Vince McMahon experienced in this situation, and for calling Xavier Woods Zeke when his fucking name is not Zeke, I'm turning heel on you. And I'm going to go ahead and turn face on the New Day because they are fucking awesome. And I say to them, you did what you had to do to get where you wanted to go. And the fact that you guys are so entertaining, man, the New Day is so amazing. We were sitting up yesterday just talking about how awesome the New Day was and how we love the New Day and how we had to find some kind of way, even if we're not talking about anything in WWE's storyline that's like up to date. How do we find out a way to praise the New Day? And that's what I'm doing right now. These guys are awesome, entertaining, and the fact that they're going out there and having fun while entertaining, best thing in the world. So major props to you guys for your success. Fucking love it.
It honestly kind of relates back to what I was talking about with the SummerSlam idea that I had for New Day and primetime players. They could have made that feud so much more drawn out, and instead of some fatal 4-way tag match that's kind of yeah, whatever, here's a few flips for you, you could have an actual really embroiled feud between two teams. And I think the New Day exemplify what it is to be a heel team, and not only that, but be entertaining while doing so. Their celebration on Raw was excellent this week. Their match with the Matadors
is excellent.
Yeah, their Matador, the match against the Matadors, whatever. The celebration afterwards was the looks on their faces when they were told there was going to be a fatal 4-way tag title match was just priceless. They are something else. And honestly, I don't want to see them break up anytime soon because I think they're such a good group that brings a lot to the table, and I think all three of the guys have different features that are specifically good about them. So New Day deserves the praise. They deserve to be praised every day because every day is a new day.
I want to see those guys. I want to see those guys as upper mid carders, something like Big Show and Jericho, or Rated RKO, or once in a while we get those upper mid card heel team. And I think that's where I really want New Day to be. I don't want them to be necessarily in the tag division. I want them to be mixing it up with the main eventers, because those guys they're a really great foil, and they could get some guys over.
Okay, so we're all in agreement that New Day is awesome, right?
Yep, New Day is pretty cool.
New Day.
And by the way, I have to say, hey, we want some New Day. Maybe I'm gonna turn face on Vince McMahon being out of touch, because that wouldn't have made it on TV if he wasn't out of touch. So maybe I'll turn face on it. Because if you guys don't know where that chant comes from, search for 2 Live Crew, but don't do it at work, and don't do it when anybody you respect is around. So, yeah. But since we're all in agreement that New Day rocks, I think we need to end this show doing something in honor of New Day. You guys ready? Evan, you just said it, so...
Yeah. Let's go. Let's keep going.
New Day?
This is going to be off, but...
New Day rocks. New Day rocks.
Day rocks.
Alrighty, guys.
Evan, don't you dare be sour.
Feel the power. Yes.
Oh yeah, we have to do the little clap too. That Kofi Kingston.
If you could see me, I would skip down the ramp like Big E does because I think that's the funniest thing ever. I would do that right now, but you probably can't see me, so.
That's how we're going to exit this episode of PWF Empire Live. We're all going to skip away. But, yeah, New Day rocks. You guys rock as well for tuning in to the show. And we'll catch you back here next week, Monday after Raw, to deliver our PWF Empire Live preview of SummerSlam. Thank you guys for tuning in to this show. We'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.